Allahu Akbar. Ya Rasulullah.
Shadpur Sharif.
Zindabad.
Ahl al-Bayt.
Zindabad.
Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq that we may continue Allah's zikr and the zikr of Allah's Habib Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What can we say? Our guest, mashallah, Sayyidi, who's put that, the love, that spark, that flame of ishq of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam into our hearts today. Mashallah. And every drum beat. I remember when I was sitting with Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani al-Rabbani rahmatullah alayhi, and Maulana Shaykh said that these drums are the drums of the beats from heaven. Don't think that those drums and the beats are of this dunya, but they are in repetition from the drums and beats of heaven. Because when you go into heaven, every single angel will be praising Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every handle upon every door of Jannah will be beating in the zikr of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanallah. But because this is a special day today, and we have the urs of our great Sheikh, the Sultan al-Awliya, Sultan al-Ashiqeen, Hazrat Khwajah, Sufi Muhammad, Aslam, and Naqshbandi, Mujaddadi, rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, who passed away on the 12th of April in 1999. So today, after Maghrib, this is the 12th of April. For us to remember them today is a very important mark in our lives. Subhanallah, I'm just going to mention just a few things because Shah Sahib said, inshallah, we should finish by about 9:30. There's a hadith, and it comes in the books, narrations, that one day Hazrat Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was sitting down, and he had a guest with him. And another man walked by, and the guest who was sitting with Amir al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidina Umar, the guest, he recognized this other man who was walking by, and he gave him salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And the man replied to the salam, and the other man, he walked by. And the guest said to Amir al-Mu'mineen that I know this man. Hazrat Sayyidina Amir al-Mu'mineen, Hazrat Sayyidina Umar al-Faruq radiyallahu anhu said, have you traveled with him? Have you traveled with him? Have you had some dealings with him? And the man said, no. Hazrat Sayyidina Amir al-Mu'mineen said, then you do not know this man. You do not know this man until you have traveled with him, until you have dealings with him. Then you will know what kind of man he is. Today, many people say, I knew the Sheikh. I knew the Sheikh. We hear today many people say, I knew Maulana as well. Or I knew the Sheikh. The thing is, they did not know the Sheikh. They saw the Sheikh, but they did not know the Sheikh. I swear by the name of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, I traveled with the Sheikh. I slept with the Sheikh. I stayed many nights with the great Sheikh. I ate from the same plate of my great Sheikh. I drank from the same water, from the same glass as my Sheikh. And I swear by the name of Allah, when the great Sheikh was eating the meat, the leftovers from his plate, I ate those leftovers. I traveled with the Sheikh. I had Islamic dealings with the Sheikh. I stayed day in and day out, night and day, inside and outside with the great Sheikh. And then those people say that we knew the Sheikh. You do not know the Sheikh until you sleep with the Shaykh, until you travel with the Shaykh. And when you sleep with them, travel with them, and see how they are inside, then you will know haqiqatun, that they are a true wali Allah. They are a true wali Allah. For every moment of their breath and their lives, they remember Allah and Allah's Rasul. I remember we were sleeping in somebody's house, and the great Shaykh, the guest of the owner of the house, he gave the bed, obviously his own bed, which was nice and comfy, he gave that to the Shaykh in a private room. And then there was another room which had, in Pakistan, which had all normal kind of, we call them charpai, ya manji, with normal type of beds. And the murid, he said, Ya Shaykh, your bed is in that room. And the rest of these dost, the murids, they can sleep out here. The Shaykh walked in that room, looked at the bed, and the bed was beautiful. It was nice and comfy, cozy, nice cushions and all this. The great Shaykh looked in there, looked outside and said, no, that bed is not for me. I will sleep amongst the friends. I will sleep amongst the dost. I swear I was Majud. I was there at that time. The great Shaykh said, this bed, I'll just sleep on this bed. And there were very less beds, but there were more murids. So some murids slept on the floor. I swear by the name of Allah, wallahi, the great Shaykh said, if anybody is having difficulty to sleep on the floor, let him come and sleep with me. Let him come and sleep with me on my bed. Yeah, but nobody dared, because that's the great Shaykh. So we wanted to give them the comfort. So we slept on the floor, some slept on the bed. 2, 3 dost, 3 murids per one bed. And the bed was a single bed. Imagine what kind of night that was. A difficult night. One of the dost, he did not even have a pillow. He did not have a pillow. And he put his head on the concrete floor. Because in Pakistan, many houses in the villages, they don't have carpets. They have hard concrete floors. And the dost, the murid, he slept, we're used to our comfort beds in this country. So he put his hand on his side and he tried to go to sleep on the concrete floor, and he's twisting and turning, twisting and turning. And the great Shaykh looked at him and saw that the difficulty he was in. And the great Shaykh took his own pillow and, without him even knowing, lifted up his head and slipped the pillow below underneath his head. You tell me something, if that is not a father, then who can you call a father? This was our father. He was our Shaykh. He was our father in this dunya, and he will be our spiritual father in the akhirah. Because he cared for his murids. His murids were not just his students, they were his sons. And I was Majud at that time when the great Shaykh said to all of his Jamaat that you are not my students, you are my sons. You are my sons. And a father never disowns his son. He even looks out for his son. His sons, even when he leaves the dunya in the akhirah, he will still look after his sons. And I will be there waiting for you. This was the love and the shafaqah of the great Shaykh Khwajah. Now I'm just going to add one more thing. And because we have our guest here, subhanallah, let's go back to the late 1970s and early 1980s. When Hazur Khwajah, the great Shaykh, subhanallah, was the founder of the Silsila Ali Naqshbandiya Mujaddadi Aslamiya in this country. And in history, the record and history of this country, the great Shaykh was the only one, the first one, who brought the people together to celebrate the Mawlid of Rasulullah. The first one in this country. And then the first one, the great Shaykh was the first one to do the Jalus, the march, to celebrate the Mawlid of Rasulullah through the streets of UK. And then many people followed. The great Shaykh And the lovers were increasing. Day by day, the lovers were increasing. And one day, there was another Shaykh of the Naqshbandi Silsila in this country, I'm not going to name them. They were also invited to one of our great Shaykh's mahfuz gatherings. When he saw the hordes of the people coming to celebrate the Mawlid, he was amazed. And he said to the great Shaykh, Ya Shaykh, tell me, I've never heard you do a speech in your life. Because our Shaykh never used to speak. They never did a speech. And he says, Ya Shaykh, I've never heard you do a speech, but yet, how do you gather all these people? How do you gather all these people? The great Shaykh said, I gather these people through zikrullah. Through the zikr of Khuda, zikr of Rasul. It is not me that gathers them, but Allah gathers them. Allah gathers these people so they may remember Him and remember His Habib. This is the greatness. And then when the mission increased, day by day it increased, and hundreds and thousands of murids and people were flocking towards the great Shaykh. And then this news, this rumor, it spread all over Europe. It spread all over Europe until it got to a place called Cyprus. And in Cyprus, subhanAllah, we all know the great Sultan al-Awliya, Hazrat Maulana Shaykh Nazim Haqqani al-Rabbani, rahmatullah ta'ala alayhi, had heard that there is one man, a man of Allah, in England. And he is a man of the Silsila Aliyah Naqshbandiya. This is when Hazrat Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani, he came to England. When he came to England, and he did not have murids, so he brought murids with him. And he established them in London and said, you should stay in London. At that time, many other of our great Shaykh's murids, they had known that Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani had arrived in this country, another Shaykh. So they went through some other murids, some friends, and they invited Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani to join Hazrat Khwajah Sufi Muhammad Aslam Sahab to celebrate the Mawlid gathering of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Hazrat Maulana Shaykh came to the mahfil, and subhanallah, can you imagine that mahfil? Can you imagine that time when there was not one sultan, but there were two sultan saints of Allah sitting together, and people have seen the photos, subhanallah, and they celebrate the Mawlid of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And after that mahfil, let me tell you, after that gathering, when Hazrat Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani left the gathering, and with his people, with his murids, they left, and they went to somebody's house, one of the murids' house. And one of the murids, while they were serving some tea or something, one of the murids, he asked his Shaykh, Maulana Shaykh, like some people do, and he said, Ya Shaykh, Ya Maulana, what do you think about Sufi Muhammad Aslam? What do you say about them? What do you say about them? Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani said, he smiled and said, what do you know about them? What do you know about them? What I know, you do not know. And what Allah knows, we do not know. For He is a true man of Allah. And this was recorded in the videos at that time. In early 1980s, when Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani al-Rabbani, rahmatullah ta'ala, said to all of the murids at that time, listen to me, when I am not in this country, you should attain the sohbah. You should sit with Hazrat Khwajah Sufi Muhammad Aslam Sahab. These were the words of Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani. And one of the murids, his name was Abdullah Sirdan al-Jamal. And he was a murid of Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani, and he was a convert. So he was from English heritage. He had embraced Islam on the hand of Maulana Shaykh Nazim al-Haqqani in the early 1970s. And he had stayed with Maulana Shaykh in Cyprus and all around the world. And he came to UK. And Maulana Shaykh said to him that you should stay in the UK and you should do the work of deen. But remember, you need to sit with Sufi Muhammad Aslam. So Abdullah Siddin al-Jamal, he sat in Sohbah with our great Shaykh. And he attended many gatherings of Zikrullah and Zikr Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Subhanallah. And a day came when he was not blessed by one Shaykh, he was blessed by both the Shaykhs. He became a Shaykh in his own right. And he was called Shaykh Abdullah Siddin al-Jamal. Yeah? And the English people were so impressed by him that they even gave him his own television series. On TV, in BBC. The BBC contacted him and they called that program The Dervish Way. The Dervish Way. And he would come on TV and he would expound and explain the spiritual teachings of the Sufi Shaykhs. Yeah? So he was blessed by not one Shaykh, he was blessed by both Shaykhs. Subhanallah, dosto, look how khush qismat we are. That at least we are connected with the awliya kamaleen. And we are connected with those awliya that were not just an awliya, but they were awliya who made other awliyas. They were not just a wali, but they were waligar. Anybody who came in their presence, they made them a wali Allah. Today we have the likes of Hadrat Khwajah Sufi Arshad Mahmud Sahib, who is a wali Allah in his own right. Subhanallah. And there's many other awliya around the world. Dosto, that's just a glimpse and a drop from the ocean of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the istiqamah and give us the tawfiq that we may always remember Allah, remember Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and remember the awliya kamaleen. Wa akhir dawana inna alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. MashaAllah.
MashaAllah, Sufi Syed Naveed Shah Sahib talking about how Murshid the Kareem